Gura opens this track by speaking Greek, something really applicable if you know Plato's literature. Plato was one of the first authors to talk about the fabled city of Atlantis. So the fact that Gura is paying homage to Atlantis by speaking Greek is a really great way to start. It shows that even if she's paused in building Atlantis in Minecraft, she still cares about that part of her lore and she wants to express it. While it was hard for me to pin down exactly what kind of instrument was being used here, it was obviously a stringed instrument. I had said Spanish-style guitar. And the fact that it tags along with a violin that's very reminiscent of Jaws really sets the tone for this track. It's not going to be upbeat and crazy. It's not going to be a slowed down song where she's just going to be singing about something. It's going to carry a lot of weight. We have both Neko Hacker and Gura being part of the lyrical movement here for Reflect, which is really cool to me because as much as a lot of mainstream artists can't seem to be bothered to write any of their own lyrics, the fact that Gura wanted to put her own creative process into this and her own ideas about this song just makes it that much better. So if the opening of the song wasn't enough to tell you that something was going down, this illustration certainly does. Mochizuki Mochi did an incredible job with this illustration. It really evokes the idea that there's going to be two sides to this. A much more negative side to Gura, but then a positive side as well. But then if you'll notice the light side on the right side of the screen, it's not like she's very negative. It's not like she's frowning, as though the negative side is a part of her that she doesn't want to have expressed or experienced. She's keeping a positive outlook while there is this very negative, very violent side to her as well, apparently. Props to Gura for being able to sing over an EDM track. Not saying it's the hardest thing to do, but it definitely does have its own challenges. And this one definitely took the back seat with any sort of flair in order to give Gura a space to really let her vocals go. Gura is flat out saying that part of her is critical of her. As she says here, with a reflection is telling her that she's a bad shark. The ocean is extremely deep, and the fact that Gura is deciding to metaphorically explain that the way that she's critical of herself drags her down to the bottom of the ocean is an extremely intense description. While I'm not sure here if the red text is necessarily her other side talking just yet, she is going back and forth with understanding why she has the feelings that she does and why probably she's not strong enough to just brush aside her critical nature. So in the same way, she's saying, I've given you everything you want. What's the deal here? But it's in her blue text, seemingly herself talking to her maybe more vicious or exploitive side, the side that needs things to get done in order to be happy, instead of just existing and being happy. No lies, but also no truths. This is a really poignant description that is very simple to hear, but I think carries a lot more weight than we might think. Saying you don't want any lies is one thing, but then also sometimes you might not also want the truth either. You could carry on with your life not really pushing yourself or really trying to better yourself. So you're not really looking for the truth of who you really are, but then at the same time you might not be lying about yourself either. She says a life of no transparency is so much more smooth. It is. Gura's absolutely right with this point. If you're never transparent with your hurts and hangups and other things like that, you can have a relatively smooth life, at least for the most part. There's always going to be a point where some part of you is going to break down because the pressures that you're not allowing yourself to be honest about are going to wear you through. But in the moment, it might feel like it's a lot better to just bottle up your insecurities and your pains so that you can just have a normal day without having to change much. Gura follows that by saying a time and place, which implies that maybe she's giving it thought that someday she will be more transparent, but then it also follows up with darker days, which makes me think that when she's transparent, she's going to be open about darker thoughts. Will we find common ground? A big question a lot of us have to face when we tackle these darker natures that we have. Are we going to find common ground? Or are we constantly going to be at each other's throats? Is there going to be a way that I could be honest with how this negativity is affecting my life, but then also be able to live and breathe and do and be happy? While it didn't actually hit me at first, this is actually a back and forth of Gura laughing maniacally versus laughing normally because she's feeling happy and expressive. A really telling idea of how closely knit this negative and positive side to her are. While Gura has always been able to save face when chat kind of criticizes her figure or what have you, she is making it a point to relay that her negative side does pick on her appearance, saying that she's odd, her personality maybe being a little bit different than others, and being scrawny. How could that be a gem of the sea? Return to what you know, it ain't much. A lot of different ways you could interpret this, but I'm just going to go the route of what she's personally expressed to be some of her previous jobs in life and different things that she's done with her time. If I remember correctly, Gura kind of floated between a lot of different jobs, didn't really have a central focus necessarily on anything. Her thought of having returned to that and returned to square one in a lot of ways is a frightening idea, something that her other side is continually reminding her of. And her other side is just deciding to twist the knife a little bit more by repeating, "It shows." In what way, I wonder? Is Gura feeling herself being worn down by the negativity that's constantly there in front of her? Only she knows. With this very smooth but then very rhythmic flow, Gura is talking about, hey, I'm not like you, stop judging me, I'm not going to be the same way that you are. I'm not going to look at my life half empty. I'm not going to look at, oh, I have nothing left to fall back on as being a problem. I'm going to look at where I'm at as a stepping stone to where I need to go. I personally take this line to mean a myriad of things. Gura has talked a lot about how she's struggled socially, and a few of the other Hololive members have talked about how sometimes Gura can come across as stupid or weird or like she's just not really understanding some of the social norms. I feel like this is possibly true and where Gura is coming from with this line, where she's saying, I just want to feel understood. Personally, as someone who has a lot of social anxiety, it's really easy for me to feel like I'm losing out on a lot of deep relationships with people because my social anxieties are probably flawing people's image of me. While that's not really true, it is a fear that a lot of us have who struggle socially. Gura's other side chides back with, well, if you're not going to conform, why were you even born? A big concern that a lot of people have, especially young people when you're growing up, is this idea of how far can you really branch out and be yourself versus the world's expectations, and specifically if you find yourself in a possible career path or a life direction that it looks like you probably should stay in, even if it's not really what you're feeling. This voice continues to say that there's only going to be pain for her if she continues down the path that she's going. What path is that? Well, honestly, I think that's up for Gura to know and for the rest of us to find out when it's time for her to share. This next statement by her other self was very interesting, that now instead of looking at riding a wave and the ocean as being indicative of her true self and how she likes to just ride the waves and chill, it's her negative side that's telling her, don't try to branch out, don't go to shore, just ride the wave and chill and don't do anything to go against the current. I really enjoyed this part because obviously I love Gura's singing and I loved how the instrumental started picking up with the snare as she was saying, I can't lie about myself anymore. But it also just makes me think, you know, wherever Gura wants to go, if maybe this is her wanting to turn away from her current life situation right now, I mean, at least she's felt comfortable sharing that. There's a lot of grown people I know that are stuck in a career field or in a life choice that they are not happy with, but they don't know how to step out and try something different, which might truly make them happy. So whatever this might mean for Gura, serious props to her for getting to this point. So Gura forgives us, presumably the audience, for saying, hey, you know what, I'm sorry if I haven't been honest. This is kind of what's going on. And, you know, that might mean a story ends and then another begins. I'm just going to assume that this is again talking about her fan base and saying, hey, because of you and how we've been together through this type of journey, I'm able to have the courage to keep doing what I want to do. I think that's a really beautiful sentiment because it does take a village to raise a child, to quote an old adage. Basically what I mean is we do need other people around us. We do need a community. And I think it's great that Gura has found a place where she can feel more comfortable with herself and comfortable with what she wants to do in no small way because of her chum buddies. There's a lot of people, especially young people, again, that would really like to think that our past is probably something left to be discarded until you realize that the past is what made us how we are. It's the squeezing and constricting and the redirecting and the pushing and pulling that we're here right now the way we are. So the past is very much important. Watch how I live my life. I felt like this could have been interpreted towards her other side, her negative self for a second, when she says, get out, stay out, just watch me live my life. It's not really saying that she's trying to separate herself from the negativity that she's constantly feeding herself, but she's just letting it know, you're not controlling me though. I know you're always going to hang around, but just watch me go and actually live the life that I want to live. The other side decides that it wants to dig its claws into Gura one more time and say, no, actually, what you are right now is all you're going to be. A shark is all you'll ever be. Does this mean that Gura is saying that her persona as this shark is something that she needs to neglect? I don't know. I certainly hope not, but I'm just going with what it sounds like the lyrics are saying here. Accepting your everything, your good and your bad, and living strong amid that is a maturity that a lot of us will never be able to grasp. Being able to accept your everything is a daily choice. Just like Gura in that moment had to continue to remind her negative self, hey, you're not controlling me here. This is me living my life. It's not a one and done situation for most of us. The deep sea is a pretty boring place unless you're kind of scared of the ocean. Then your mind just fills in the gaps about what's awaiting you around the bend or when the water gets more clear. Gura again thanks the people that have been in her life and said, no matter what's going on, I'm going to live true to myself and remember you along the way. So now we go back to the Jaws-esque theme on the strings as well as the stringed instrument in the background. A great way of segueing things back to the origin. What I find most interesting about this line is that it appears to be the negative side of her, and you can hear that especially in the tone, saying nothing bad is without something good, implying that, yes, even if you have some negative sides to your life, that doesn't mean that that's all you are. And the fact that her negative side is accepting that there's something good to it as well is a really genuine, mature mindset to have. Gura talked very openly about how proud she was of this song, as well she should be.
And it's something that I've worked really hard on, and
Aside from the fact that this is a very emotional song where she's revealing a lot of her heart about different things, the song is incredible in and of itself, using Greek, English, and Japanese language in which she sings and raps, and the instrumentation is very vibrant with its sound and its styling. That's an accomplishment no matter what type of lyrics you're going to bring to the table. Now, lyrically speaking, we can address the possible elephant in the room that this looks like Gura is saying farewell to Hololive and her fans and those types of things. I certainly hope that's not the case. But if it is, I feel like this is one of the most mature ways to go about it. She's just talked about a huge battle that, like I said, a lot of people never really fight well in trying to be your best self despite the constant negativity that you feed yourself. Never mind all the pressures of the world and expectations of other people around you. Sometimes the biggest thing holding us back is really ourselves and our own concerns and anxieties versus the opportunities that might actually legitimately be there for us in our life. And for Gura to be able to look at that and realize that she only has herself holding her back is really, really awesome.